Yeah, I mean, I remember I interviewed BG Knocc Out. He's a regular on my show, and he's a Crip from Long Beach.
I probably seen
Yeah.
every interview you've done with him.
Well, so you probably remember this part. He said that the last time he went to prison, he had to really sit down and say, do I love my gang more than my family?
Yeah.
And that was sort of the light bulb that went over his head and said, no, I don't. I love my family and my kids more than this gang. And that's why he renounced being a Crip. And he said he's no longer, although he was a Crip, he doesn't consider himself a Crip anymore. Was that a similar kind of thing that you went through?
Yeah, you know, I mean, the blinders come off at some point, man. We grow up, we start to see things through different lenses, through, you grow up, man, and your values change, and you realize the things that you were involved in, it was senseless, man. I wasn't gonna gain nothing from being in that lifestyle. Now I'm serving another purpose, helping the youngsters not make the same mistakes I made. But yeah, everything that I've been through, that was me bottoming out right there. And it made me look at things in a different way. A lot of these guys talk about loyalty. They talk about how real they are with, and they're the first ones, man, to tap out when they get in that situation. The dudes that are saying that they would never do this and would never do that is because they've never been in that situation. But you get put in a situation where you're looking at 155 years or you're looking at 75 years, self-preservation is gonna kick in. It's gonna slap you, it's gonna slap the shit out of you. You know what I mean? It's gonna make you see things different. I've seen it and heard it all, man. You know what I mean? And then I see those same dudes come walking in and they're like, man, B, I get it now, bro. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you understand how it works now, because again, it's when you're on the outside looking in, you could say what you want. I used to say the same thing. Them cats that get weak, that trash, them motherfuckers that turn around and cooperate, that work with law enforcement against us. Never count yourselves amongst, trash like that, those broken men, you know what I mean? But things happen in your life, man. There's forces that push you in different directions, things that pull you different ways. And it has an impact on your decision making, and you grow up. So yeah, it did, it did.
How did it feel to walk out of that cell for the final time?
It was bittersweet, because I felt on one hand, I felt like I had to sell myself out to do, to get to where I was walking out. And I would have, it sounds stupid, but I would have rather have that not happened, those phone calls, and I would have spent the rest of my life in prison. I look at a lot of homies that are still locked up, and they're the ones that are locked up. I'm like one of the only ones that's out. Everybody else from my crew, they're all locked up. Do I want to spend the rest of my life in prison? No, but I wish those phone calls never would have happened. But I'm in a better place. You know what I mean? I'm in a better place. Obviously, freedom is a good thing. Nobody wants to be locked up. So it was bittersweet.
I mean, because of the cooperation, is there a hit on you by the NF?
There's always going to be a green light. Always. For the rest of my life.
Always. Have you ever had a situation where you've been walking around and someone spotted you, recognized you, and something happened?
Yeah, I've had a couple situations. When I first got out, I had a chip on my shoulder. I catch somebody looking, and I'd spin off. It didn't matter who I was with, and go over there and jam them up. You know what I mean? But I started to realize, man, that I'm putting people that are around me in bad. I'm putting them in a bad spot. I don't want somebody else to get hurt because of what I'm doing. And I don't do that no more. I see somebody, I'll let them react, and I'll react accordingly, how they can react. Just because I did what I did, and I'm not trying to be a tough guy, man. That alter ego boxer, he's still there. Guys that walk away from that lifestyle, they can still revert back to that guy that they used to be. But I don't want to be about that no more, man. You know what I'm saying? But there's been situations I try to avoid it. I don't go to big functions where the likelihood of me running into a lot of Norteños 49er games. I know they suck, man. Well, actually, they're doing kind of good right now. But I don't go to those big functions like that or places that will that might put me in a spot that it's more likely to happen. I just kind of just live a quiet life, man.
Well, yeah, I've interviewed Blue Boy. I don't know if you saw this interview.
I did.
But he's so this is a legendary Crip from the East Coast, and he got out after 30 years. I did his interview, which ended up kind of reverberating throughout the whole system to the point where he got a job as security and so forth. And I talked to him about how do you function in normal society, because in prison someone steps on your foot and it's instant violence. You can't do that at Safeway. You know what I'm saying? You'll go back to prison. And unfortunately, he got a job doing security for in a weed shop, for Big Baby, the basketball player. And apparently something happened, and now he's back in prison again.
Yeah.
Which is sad, because I like the guy. We had a whole full-blown conversation. It seemed like he really understood his mistakes and so forth. But at some point, he reverted back to Blue Boy again. And now, I don't exactly know the details, but it's likely that he may not get out because of all of his priors.
Yeah.
Does that ever bother you? Do you ever think about that? Because right now, are you still on parole or probation, or are you completely clear?
No, I did a year, and I got off parole. So, yeah, I think about it. Sometimes I'm one decision away from spending the rest of my life in prison. Make no mistake about it. I get caught up. There's people that want to see me. Law enforcement ain't doing me no favors. You know what I mean? So, when I got out, I still had to catch myself sometimes, man. That criminal mentality, it's still there. I remember a couple of times going into a bank to cash my little check that I had to bust my ass for, and I see somebody withdrawing a lot of money, and that thought crossed my mind, man. I'm like, fuck, this would be so easy just to follow this cat outside the bank. And then I'm like, nah, man, what are you thinking about, man? You know what I mean? What are you thinking about? So I had to catch myself. To this day, it's been a good minute since I've been out, but it's so deeply ingrained within me. It's just become my way of thinking. I gotta pull myself back. So I got a good support system now, man. I don't think I'll ever return back to prison. I won't allow that to happen. Not everything that I've been through.
And you've completely kicked your drug habit as well.
That experience was me hitting my bottom. My mom ended up dying of an overdose. She nodded out and suffocated herself in a pillow. She leaned into a pillow and suffocated. I mean, obviously she died prematurely. She was using dope all her life, but those things, it was enough for me to say, I'm never gonna touch that again, man.